Well, welcome to today's Wednesday walkabout. We're starting that up again regularly. And Stuart, there's a nice breeze today, but it's not at all windy like it was yesterday. That was absolutely horrific.
It was insane.
It was insane. Well, last time we did a walkabout, we started at this point, I think, and we walked in the direction of the front yard and kind of what's starting to happen there. So I'm not going to talk about the trees anymore, but we are going to put up a digital rendition of the plans that I have for the front yard. At this point, which is always subject to change, at this point I don't think I will have any to very little grass. It will be boxwood lined, and later on, as we start fleshing out what will go into the design, I'll talk about that a little bit more. But for some of you who are just eager to see how it might start coming together, Stuart's going to put up a digital design of it. Indeed. That is just a work in progress. So right now, I think I told you, climbing rose, sentinel evergreens. I've been checking out to see if some more tulips are coming up out of these pots. Please, Lord, and they are. But now let's walk this way, because I haven't showed you really anything about the backyard. And you've had lots and lots of questions. Now, what's interesting about this cottage compared to the other place is that the areas that I have to plant are different in orientation, but they're just kind of different in respect to the house itself. So this here, which is outside of my bedroom window, this is going to be a pretty deep bed, and it should be very good for what I intend to plant here. I think I mentioned Southern Living, lots of Southern Living plants where I can plant my beloved hydrangeas and some other things. And then I'm going to be looking at gravel and flagstone samples hopefully this week, because we're going to put in a flagstone path here that will be far more level, which Stuart will appreciate because he's on an incline now. And what we'll do is put up some wrought iron barrier right here to kind of hold in some dirt, level it out, support this a little bit, and help to get this section all on the same grade. And so probably, as I just continue to garden over time, more and more things may be planted along here. But initially, my design concept is just large pieces of flagstone in which things will be placed in between the pavers. Not so much that it impedes foot traffic, because this won't get a whole lot of I guess people just navigating their way from one point to the next, but it will get some. So I'm thinking ajuga, some things that I want to self-seed in between here, just things like that, maybe some creeping thyme. And it's a pretty long walkway. And yes, so many of you it's like you read my mind. You said that the steps on the porch, the faux porch, the phantom porch, could be used as staging area for different pots, different of my container topiaries and things. And yes, it will. Not as many as I had before, because I'm going for a less cluttered look, but nevertheless, I think it'll be really charming. So this is the gate that goes into the backyard, and this is going to be switched out for one that has a profile maybe similar to one that I had in the past. I'm not really sure. And you've already seen, if you watched a previous video, that I put up this lattice work extender, I think of it as, on top of the existing fence, and that gives me more privacy. It gives a more sheltered feel to the backyard, and also I think it's decorative and it repeats the diamonds in the windows. Now, someone made a comment, Stuart, come into my garden. Someone made the comment that a lot of these features are starting to look like features that I had at my other house, and they thought I was wanting to have a different vibe. And in a perfect world, maybe that would be the case, because I think I have shared with you in the past that when we were hoping to move, I hoped to move into something that had more of a Mediterranean style, that was a little bit more Mediterranean or Spanish in aspect. But you know, you just have to work with what you get. And there just were no homes like this in the area that I wanted to live within. And this neighborhood, which we're going to be showing you more of, was really where I wanted to be for reasons that I've already expressed. This neighborhood is really, really up and coming, and actually, because of its location in Oklahoma City, the prices here are actually higher per square foot than they are where I was in Crown Heights. So what was available that was one story, that was a bungalow that I was looking for, that was a finite amount. And so when I moved here, it was just an English cottage, and it is just speaking the same language as the English tutor that I lived in prior to this. And so yes, a lot of the features will be recreated here, but with a different twist, and certainly with a lot more restraint. Now, I'm kind of embarrassed for you to see all of this. The backyard is really not that large. I don't know the exact dimensions to it. A lot of my gardening with flowers and things will be done in the front, because the front yard is so much larger than back here. But I love this concept of having an outdoor living room. And there will be very little, probably no grass back here at all. There will be deep beds around the perimeter. I'm not sure about some of these trees, if they're all going to stay or not. My emphasis in this first season is going to be primarily on the front yard. But I do hope to just have a huge dining and entertainment space right here in the center. And it will be either on brick or on flagstone and gravel. At this point, that remains to be seen. Now, there's a lot of things, there's a lot of stuff out here in the way of garden furniture, pots, hanging baskets that I've got in storage and everything. It's very cluttered looking, and as I said, I want some of my signature touches, but maybe with more restraint at this house. So what I did was, and I'm not necessarily sure this methodology was correct, and that's my question of the day. You guys let me know. But since I wasn't sure, and I'm still not sure, what garden ornament, garden furniture, garden features that I'm going to want to use here, I didn't want to discard things that I might want to use. So I would say out of the maybe 100% of things that I brought over here, I did schlep them over here, probably only about 20% of it will remain. But I want to go through and curate out of what I have in my inventory to see what I want to keep before I discard the rest. And then it will either go to Goodwill or go to friends. I'm not really sure exactly at this point. So my vision here is for a large seating and dining area out here. Now, one thing that I really dislike about the cottage are these back steps. They are way too steep, the treads are way too high, and it makes ingress and egress really difficult. So that is something that I'm going to address right away. And I will probably, before I left the other house, I took lots of pictures of my very favorite features of that house. And one of them was my back stoop. Stuart, you recall the back stoop.
I recall it.
With all of the topiaries marching up and down. And I also loved it because it was easy to traverse. It was easy to get in and out without too much of an incline. So there is a grade to this property that's going to be a little bit challenging, but that is going to be one of the first things that we tackle, is taking out these steps. There will be some HP issues, but not nearly as many in the back as there are in the front. And definitely we will make these broader, wider, and with much shorter treads, probably in that combination I love so much of vertical brick for the risers, and then for the flat sections probably some kind of flagstone. Again, that will match and really communicate well with everything else that's going on in the front and on the sides. And I'm thinking at this point, again, I know sometimes when I say things, you guys think, oh, she sounds so confident that she's cast in stone. That's exactly what she's going to do. No, I'm just confident at that moment in time that I think that's what I'm going to do. And everything is subject to change before it's actually executed, because I get lots of input from lots of different people, including you and even Stuart, right, Stuart? So I imagine that most of those steps will come out over this way. This walkway that goes to the garage, and yes, I do have a garage.
I was about to say that. Yep, there it is.
Yes, so many of you have asked. I do have a sweet little garage here. All of this concrete will be broken up. We'll come in here with flagstone pavers that will probably kind of swoop this way to the west a little bit more before they go up the stairs. So the back door will be approached from a different vantage point, which will change the whole dynamic back here. Again, there's some drainage issues that we will address, and we'll take care of that. This mound of all of these boxwoods that I healed in here temporarily, most of these will be relocated to the front or to other areas. So I'll have this expanse here to work with. Again, some of these trees, I'm trying to decide which ones I want to keep and which ones I don't. And this whole area is the one I'm really thinking about and really wanting to be a little bit playful with. And when I say playful, where I like to play in the garden. Potting shed, maybe, I don't know, a tiny greenhouse. I don't know that there'll be enough light for that here. I'm not really sure. At this point, that all remains to be seen. And the other thing is, before I prematurely just come in and rip out everything and make some changes, I kind of want to see what's going to come up first, what's going to happen first. I've noticed that there's lots of daffodils planted in the front, but none of them have blooms on them. But I want to, I'll give them their time. I'll see what they do before I decide how I want to revise them. And then what I love about this property too, which I'll share a little bit later, it has all sorts of fun little nooks and crannies that I just love, that I think are going to be fun also to play with. One thing that I wanted to share with you, when we were inside the great room, I talked quite a bit about this window and how it screams 1950s or 1960s. So we have already talked with someone, and these are going to be taken out, and we are going to replace them with casement windows with muttons in them, which will be able to open so that we get fresh air inside, and I think will really be a beautiful vantage point from which then to look out here at the outdoor dining room. And one thing I love about this neighborhood is that a real signature touch of this neighborhood are the string lights. You can see some over there at my neighbor's home, and it's so fun at night. They keep them up year round. And so I'm thinking that here I'll probably have posts, or I'll use the trees or something, but this will have almost like a ceiling of those string lights over them. And if you can imagine it, Stuart, being filled with candlelight and good food and wine and music, I think it'll be really charming. And it's a little bit more protected from the wind back here. So I really like that, and I'm thinking of it more in a courtyard garden way, in maybe a Charleston courtyard kind of way or something, though it will have an English flair. And then I will have my signature plant stands. I can't wait to have lots of geraniums this year, scented and pelargoniums and regular geraniums. I do have lots of pots. Look at how well the tulips are coming up in here, Stuart. And so as they begin to do their thing, these will be staged and placed someplace where they can be appreciated a lot more. But I really think that it has a cozy vibe back here, don't you, Stuart?
I do, definitely.
And this is probably the first time we've been back here when it really felt warm.
Yeah, that's true.
And we've had, I think, maybe a vision of what it will be like in the spring and in the summer when we're back here. I can't wait to get started, but I'm trying to be patient. Things don't happen overnight, and nothing right now is cast in stone. I'm thinking about maybe even changing out my outdoor dining table eventually. Like I say, I'm just thinking about a lot of different things, and there's a lot to process. And for every bit there is to process outside, I'm processing it inside and really getting rid of lots and lots of things. So as soon as I have any kind of plan to show you for the backyard, in a diagram or a rendering form, I will definitely do that, but right now I don't. I do know that in some way I will want to hide the fixtures on the house and the HVAC system and make some kind of changes. And then definitely I'm going to want to add some vertical elements here. So what those will be, I'm not really sure. They may be roses, Carolina jasmine, I'm not really sure. That too remains to be seen. But I'm looking forward to it, and I'm also looking forward to getting together with my friends at Southern Living Plant Collection and Encore Azalea really soon, because we're going to start finalizing, I think, some of the things that I want on my comprehensive plant list, particularly for the front, and that will be so much fun. And it might, I think, kind of lessen the heartache a little bit from not having a lot of things in my own garden this year that I can watch coming up. But the upside to that, Stuart, is this is all new to me.
Yeah.
So it's fun.
Kind of more exciting, right?
Yeah. It's a lot more exciting, and I've been amazed at how little I have really looked back, because I'm so excited about looking forward. The other thing I can't wait to see is not only watching this property unfold, but also watching how the neighborhood unfolds and what kind of blooming plants and things there are here. And with that comes a promise to you guys that Stuart and I will do some walking around on camera, won't we, Stuart? Mm-hmm. Walking around, visiting some of the wonderful places. One of my goals in moving, and one of the things that was so important to my quality of life, let's go this way, Stuart, so you can be in the sun a little bit more. But what was so important to my quality of life was that there was real walkability. Is that I really wanted walkability. I like that about living close to the urban core, and it's just something that I just found and still find just so charming. And Crown Heights was walkable, but this is even more walkable. So my favorite bookstores, coffee shops, restaurants are all within spitting distance, aren't they, Stuart?
Very much so.
In addition to some absolutely unbelievable older homes that are just magnificent, a lot of which in years past I've helped them with their homes, so it's fun to see them unfold, but also to see like what does well in this neighborhood, what kind of blooming shrubs and blooming trees are here. I am just, well, I'm kind of like a kid, Stuart. It might seem a little bit obnoxious to you guys out there, but it's nice to feel young and enthusiastic again.
Indeed.
In my dotage. So there you go. I hope you guys like this brief update, today's walkabout. There'll be more to come. I hope to share things that are a little bit more colorful and a little bit more interesting than just a barren backyard with furniture, but it still is February after all.
Part of the process, right?
It is part of the process, and it makes it that much sweeter when things really do explode in the spring. Thank you guys for following along. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Make sure to share if you think somebody else will enjoy this, and give it a thumbs up if you liked this content. So thank you guys, and I'll see you next time.